Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. The Newark Public Schools Advisory Board regular public meeting for February 26, 2013 is called to order.
Good evening. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 1046 et sec, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertising in the Star Ledger, El Nuevo Coquí, Haiti Progress, and Luz Americana newspapers, and by distribution to the administrative offices of the Newark Public Schools. A copy of this meeting was also forwarded to City Hall for posting. This is a regular advisory board meeting for Tuesday night, February 26, 2013.
Thank you. Please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, First Avenue students. Thank you very much. Our future leaders are leading us. Thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Jeffries.
Here.
Mr. Kenny. Dr. Lamore.
Here.
Mr. Lewis.
Here.
Ms. Matthias. Dr. McCreary.
Here.
Ms. Perello.
Here.
Ms. Pintor-Marin.
Here.
Chair Baskerville Richardson.
Here.
Quorum is present.
We will now have greetings and student recognition by First Avenue School Principal Kathy Duke Jackson.
Good evening, Superintendent Anderson, all Central Office staff, Advisory Board President, the Advisory Board members, community, and staff. It is my distinct pleasure to host this month's Advisory Board meeting at First Avenue School. At First Avenue School, we pride ourselves on being a community of learners. As a result of the best practices that are occurring in our building and the academic gains that our students are making, we are moving from good to great. At First Avenue School, our teachers understand that in order to move students, they must also be learners. As a result, the following practices are occurring in our building on a daily basis. Our teachers are aligning instruction to the core standards and are employing practices that have been learned at the TLI sessions. A few of our staff members are also participating in the Classroom Inquiry Project through Montclair State University. Because we also recognize that it takes a village to ensure success for our students, First Avenue School has also partnered with several organizations. We are working with KPMG. They, like First Avenue School, understand the importance of ensuring that our students have a strong literacy background. As a result, twice each year, they donate books to all of our students of the month. And on Friday, this Friday, March 1st, they will be giving books to all of our pre-K to second grade students in celebration of Dr. Seuss's birthday. Our students in grades K, 1, and 2 also have been partnered with NJIT. We have a great partnership that they also work with them. Some of our upper grade students are also Rutgers Future Scholars, so we celebrate them for their great achievements. Our students in grades 6 through 8 are also involved in a mentoring program with United Healthcare. As a result of their involvement in this program, our students are making responsible decisions when they're handling situations. Not only are they effectively dealing with situations, they are also making connections with the outside world by helping others in their community and by visiting college campuses so that our vision for each one of them of attending college becomes their reality as well. We are very proud of the practices that are occurring at First Avenue School. We invite each and every one of you to come in at any time to see the great practices that are occurring in our building. I'll end this presentation with a quote by Roberto Clemente, who said, "Anytime you have an opportunity to make a difference in this world and you don't, then you are wasting your time on earth. At First Avenue School, we understand that we have a great opportunity as well as a huge responsibility to make a difference in the lives of our students. As a result of the great work that the administration, the staff, the parents, and our community partners are doing at First Avenue, we know that without a doubt, we are making a great difference in the lives of all of our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please have a wonderful and productive meeting. At this point, I'm going to turn the mic over to our parent liaison, Ms. Duran. After she gives you a brief welcome, we will then have our dance troupe under the leadership of Ms. Pope come and do one piece for you. Thank you again.
Good evening. My name is, Good evening. My name is Carmen Duran, and I'm the parent liaison from First Avenue. On behalf of First Avenue School, we would like to welcome the board members, parents, community, staff, and hope we have a great meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Wofabi is an African dance and drum festival that brings us back to our old Africa. In November, First Avenue School had the opportunity to dance with Speedway Avenue and Peshine Avenue at Symphony Hall. After meeting Baba Chuck and our fellow teachers and dancers, as well as the old rituals straight from Africa, we really felt as if we were living this old celebration. Please welcome the First Avenue School Dance Ensemble in Wofabi.
All right, that was a treat. That was beautiful. To all the principals and teachers who are here, when you have programs at your schools, please let Ms. Valerie Merritt know, because she passes that information on to the board members, and we love to come out and see what the students are doing in the school. So please, whenever you're having, I can't promise that we can come, but we always try. Somebody always tries to show up from the advisory board. We will now move on our agenda, item 5, which is the report of the advisory board chairperson. Good evening, parents, grandparents, and other caretakers, to the students, my fellow board members, Superintendent Anderson, Newark Public Schools staff and administrators, and all concerned community members. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here this evening. As part of my monthly remarks starting this month, I'm including a glimpse of what your board members have been doing around town in support of Newark Public Schools students, parents, teachers, and schools. And I'm just going to list a few events that Newark Public Schools Advisory Board members have attended. There are many more, and I want to urge advisory board members to please just let me know, what you do when you go around to meetings and events at the schools, so that they can be included. The Title I Parent Conference was attended by me, by Daniqua Matias, Ms. Perillo, Marquise Lewis, and Shavar Jeffries. We were all there at certain points during that day for that conference. The New Jersey School Boards Association Essex County meeting was attended by me, Daniqua Matias, and Ariana Perillo. And I also have joined the New Jersey School Board Association Urban School Boards Committee. In addition, other school board members, and I know there's more, I don't have it here, so I'm just going to name a few things, and I'm not going to name names. But other school board members attended the Technology High School Fair, the Westside High School College Fair, and Miller Street School 100th birthday, among others. And I'm sure, that people are going to come up to me and say, but I went to such and such. If you let me know, I'll be sure to mention it at the meetings, because we really want the public to understand that we do a lot more than simply come to a meeting twice a month. In addition, Daniqua Matias has been selected to serve on the Legislative Committee of the New Jersey School Boards Association, representing the Newark District. The difficulty for all Newark Public School Board members, in my estimation, and I take the liberty to, I hope, express the sentiments of our board, is that we live here, we are embedded in our various communities, and we hear with clarity the voices of parents, caretakers, students, and the broader community. We work unseen hours on committees, reading data and documents, basically doing the same type of work that school board members all over the United States do, taking care of normal business. For most school boards, that is all that they do. But we all know it's never that simple in Newark. Nothing is ever simple in Newark. People who come here from other places wonder why we don't smile much. Why do we look so angry? And I think a lot of it is because we have to struggle so hard for everything. And we have to struggle so hard for the things that other people take for granted. It's never simple in Newark. The Newark Public Schools Advisory Board understand the frustrations that are in our community at this time. And we understand that a lot of our frustration as board members is based on the limitations imposed on us by the state control of our schools. Statutory regulations forbid us from participation in the usual responsibilities of other boards of education, such as matters of personnel, matters of choosing and evaluating our superintendent, developing our budget, etc. The CUSAC process lays blame at the feet of the school board for things that we have no control over. The power that we do have as school board members is the power to work with all of our constituents, from the grassroots folks to our elected officials, to return our schools to local control. We do not underestimate the difficulty of the job of the state district superintendent. And we see the complexity of the work that it takes to run this district. However, as a board, we align with our community in the quest to return our district to local control and to work with this present superintendent to help to ensure that decisions are made with stakeholder input in the beginning, with community input in particular in the beginning, so that the concerns of all are taken into account. This is an ongoing process and an ongoing communication. In terms of change in our district, change is absolutely necessary. I don't think that there is anyone in here who would want the status quo to continue to exist. What we ask and what we ask for on a regular basis, and what we as a board will continue to ask for ourselves as board members and for our community, is that change must be an inclusive process. I do not say this in disrespect to the superintendent. I say this simply because this is the conscious, ongoing quest of this board. Thank you. And we will now have parent recognition from our Constituent Services Committee.
Good evening to everyone that came out, and to our president and also superintendent. Each day throughout the district, hundreds of parents are making a difference in our schools, supporting their children's academic success by volunteering. The Newark Public Schools Advisory Board Community Relations Committee wishes to recognize and express its appreciation to those parents and community members who devote their time, share their talent and resources with children, staff, and administrators to improve the quality of our schools and lives of our children. Each month, this board will continue to recognize parents, guardians who support our district-wide parental involvement program, consisting of activities focused on parenting, communicating, volunteering, learning at home, decision-making, and community involvement. Nominated by their child's school administration, we are proud to announce tonight's award recipients, honorees from Dr. Iamo Flagg to Wanda Falcone. Representing Barringer High School, Luz Lopez. Representing Benjamin Franklin School, Bibi Basir. From Branchbrook School, Melanie Garcia. And representing Rafael Hernandez, Ida Anjudar. Give them a round of applause for volunteering, making their time your children's time. Thank you for everything that you do within our school district. If we can get the principals to come down to take a picture with these phenomenal people, we greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Madam President, I turn the meeting back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Kinney. We will now move to the State District Superintendent report.
Good evening. So we don't have a lot of space for board members to go into the audience to watch the PowerPoint. But before we actually go to the PowerPoint, the PowerPoint this evening is focused primarily on a topic of great interest to the community around high school choice and high school reform. However, there are a number of items that have occurred prior to this PowerPoint being finalized that I wanted to just briefly touch upon before we maybe just smash the sides, if you guys don't mind, as opposed to trying to go to the audience because we have a nice full house today. So first, I couldn't agree more with our esteemed board chair about the need for communication and respect. Along with the school advisory board, the NPS staff also works countless hours to communicate with the school advisory board through a weekly blast, committees that last between 2 and 5 hours a week. For those of you who are interested, we also have monthly stakeholder briefings that start at 3 and end late into the evening for anyone who's interested. Community forums. Our administration is deeply committed to dialogue and deeply respects the expertise of the board and will continue to do everything we can and refine our systems to make sure that we're in as close communication as humanly possible. So we absolutely respect the expertise, commitment, passion, and energy of the school advisory board, and our entire team spends a good deal of time engaging them and other stakeholders. So we appreciate their leadership, and we do respect the incredible and unbelievable talents they bring to the work. 3 other things. For those members of the Muslim community who may or may not have attended prior sessions, and for other members of the community who have not been present, we have heard very specific communication regarding the desire to recognize the Muslim holidays in the Newark Public Schools calendar. We've communicated to the Muslim community at prior meetings, which I would reiterate today, just because we do have a nice group of individuals gathered here this evening, that we respect your passion, the way in which you've engaged, and as we've shared, the process of the calendar commences now and ends by the end of the school year. So we look forward to communicating with you as we engage the various unions and other stakeholders that are involved in the calendaring process. And we are committed to continuing the conversation with you as you finalize that. To our CASA membership, thank you for coming. It's good to see everyone. We also recognize that there are changes that were proposed on Friday to individuals, and there's been a lot of misinformation out there. So I do want to say 3 things. First of all, we are deeply committed to assisting schools and in supporting leaders in making decisions that are closest to the school, in part due to what the chair said, which is every school is unique. Every community is unique, and part of our mission and goal is to partner with great leaders, many of whom are in this room, to give them as much flexibility as possible and to get as many of our resources as humanly possible into the classroom. We are also committed to working with CASA. None of what we have proposed will go into effect until this summer. We look forward to hopefully collaborating with the union and others, and this is an overture that has been made and will continue to be made because we believe in the leaders here in this room, and we believe in collaborating with unions, as many other individuals can share, regardless of whether or not we always agree. So we do appreciate your attendance, we appreciate your leadership, and there is a lot of room for discussion and dialogue between now and this summer, which is part of the reason why we wanted to begin it this early, despite the fact that we got a lot of, frankly, feedback to the contrary, that indeed we should do things in the middle of the night, which is not what we're doing. So we're glad you're here, and we look forward to having conversations, and there's plenty of time to have those dialogues some of which are appropriate and some of which are not appropriate in a public forum regarding personnel. But we do look forward to that conversation with the union and with the membership and respect the leadership of those people who are present. The third thing I wanted to talk about is the federal sequester, which we've gotten a good number of inquiries about. We can do a deeper briefing on that, but I just wanted to share top level what that actually means. Whenever the Newark Public Schools receives federally earmarked funds, things like Title I, ESEA, IDEA, those are federal dollars that come through the state to Newark Public Schools. In a normal year, the federal government asks us to budget only 85% of those monies, which represent maybe 20% of our overall budget. The rest is through state formula. In a normal year, we budget 85% because the actual allocations aren't in our hands. In this fiscal, so starting July 1st, we would be budgeting 75% if the sequester goes into effect, because the federal government, in essence, is saying we can't guarantee that the dollars will be present. That, plus a few other pieces of the sequester, would end up being somewhere we estimate between $3 and $4 million of the Newark Public Schools budget, the good majority of which would not have an impact until the new fiscal year on July 1st. So, under the direction and leadership of Val Wilson, we're in the process of doing some additional analysis. The Head Start monies are also impacted, but most of this will take effect in the new fiscal year. And to the extent that we need to provide additional information, we're on all the federal conference calls. We will make sure we brief the board as we know more. This is breaking news, but I wanted to inform the board and the community because rightfully so, we've received a number of questions about that. Finally, the presentation we're going to focus on this evening, and I'm going to ask a couple members of our team to assist, is focused on high schools. I did want to say that I know there are individuals here from K-8s. The only two K-8s that are impacted by any of the portfolio discussions we're having right now are Roseville and Berliner. No other K-8s are part of the portfolio discussion for fall 2013. Again, I know there's been some misinformation out there, so I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that. Any other K-8, we are providing additional supports and services and deepening our reforms in those K-8s, but those two K-8s are the only schools that are impacted by the portfolio decisions we're making this fiscal year. The rest of our focus this spring and summer will, from a portfolio standpoint, be on high school. So I wanted to clarify that. We're going to, with those sort of new breaking news pieces, if you will, that didn't make it to the PowerPoint, I apologize because they all literally were occurring over the last 48 hours. I'm going to ask the members of our team who are going to assist me with kind of our regularly scheduled programming to join us and ask the board members, if that's all right, to just potentially just gather around the sides of the table because I'm not really sure there's enough space to go down into the audience. Okay, go ahead, Madam Chair.
Sorry. Okay, there is, well, two things. First, and probably most immediate, there is a car that is blocking someone in. It's a Mercedes-Benz J91-AGD. And the other thing, just briefly, and for clarity, during the old and new business section of this meeting, which comes after the public participation, the advisory board will be voting on a resolution recommending that the district incorporate the Eid holidays into the school calendar. So I just wanted to let you know that even though you may not see it on the agenda, that will happen this evening. Thank you.
Great, so at this time, I'm going to ask a couple members of our team to join me in the focus on the high schools. have the clicker? Sorry, I forgot the clicker. Okay. Brad Haggerty, the assistant superintendent who works most closely with high schools, and Robert Clark, who is chief advisor on alternative high schools and youth development. Roger Leone, for some reason in the audience. Why don't you come up?
You want me to come up?
Are going to assist with this presentation. Want me to start? All right, so the big idea this year that we are pursuing with the support and leadership of everyone in this room is to ensure that every 8th grader gets to go to a high school of their choice. We are deeply involved with many of the comprehensive high schools to allow them the planning time and resources to go deeper in terms of their school designs. And we're working with the magnet school principals who here in Newark are incredibly dedicated to all students to ensure diversity across all of our schools. The 5, people should be familiar with this slide. We shared our commitment and our goals with regard to whole school reform being the 5 essential ingredients you see here. The cornerstone being a great school leader, the ability to have a clear mission and vision that may not be the same in every school, but actually is quite palpable and ties the school in a whole school model. The ability of that school leader to select their teachers and instructional staff according to not only quality, but their fit. Flexibility of resources, so the ability to kind of use their monies in a way that meets the needs, the unique needs of the school and the community that they're serving, and families who feel the school is safe and are engaged. And then over time, we also know we need to work on these things that are in the broader circle, which is increased instructional minutes, 21st century teaching and learning, so that's technology, and on top of that, deeper supports for social emotional learning and other services we know our students in Newark need. The way that we think about this picture is the 5 in the middle are absolutely essential and the place that we start, and over time we hope to ensure that all of the others are present in every school that we work with.
Good evening, everyone. The high school strategy is really designed to tackle 5 challenges that present us. First is the issue of enrollment. Each of these we'll look at in some slides that follow, but quickly summarize, the high school enrollment across the district has declined rather precipitously over the past 10 years. Second, the challenge of disparate need. Meaning that our schools currently serve dramatically different student populations and who represent different levels of need. Third, the need for increased safety and personalization across all of our high schools as a sort of core essential ingredient to future success. Fourth, is our pattern of relatively low performance and low growth across many of our high schools who are producing academic results for which we must demand improvement. And finally, fifth, unmet student needs and unmet family demands, the notion that students and their families are speaking about the kind of schools that they want, and that currently our menu and our portfolio of options must consistently be increased because students are expressing their demand for choice, and we need to be able to meet those demands of our students and their families. Let's start first with enrollment. There are a couple slides that are going to kind of show the story of enrollment over the past couple of years. The slide that's up there now shows that over the past 10 school years, the overall district enrollment has declined by 14%, right? Steadily across most wards, with one exception in the east and a slightly lower drop in the 9th ward. But the bottom line is, as we know, with declining enrollment comes declining availability of funds. This story is particularly apparent at the high school level, where the number of students over the past 6-7 years has literally dropped by 25 to 30%. Particular to this challenge is when we look at the transition from 8th grade to 9th grade, where this particular slide is showing our end-of-year enrollment at the end of the 2010-11 school year with our 8th graders. That's this leftmost bar. And then the far right bar shows the beginning of year enrollment the following fall. And it tells the story of the district losing students from grade 8 to grade 9 to the tune of roughly 1,000 students. And the notion that those students and their families are exercising other options and are not staying with the district, which makes the case number one, that we need to strengthen our options for those families and in the process secure a more stable high school student population and meet that clearly statement of family and student need. The second challenge I mentioned is disparate need. What do we mean by disparate need? The point that we say that we make there is that our schools are not homogeneous. And in fact, our magnet high schools and our then other sort of large group of high schools, our comprehensive high schools, are very different in the student populations that they serve. And this creates very different levels of need and particular challenges for the leaders, the staff of those schools. Specifically, if you look at the far left column, our magnets serve a much smaller percentage and our comprehensives a much higher percentage of students who enter 9th grade significantly behind in their academic progress. This presents a significant challenge to, again, the leadership and staffs of our comprehensive high schools. Going to the far right-hand bars, we see that the percentage of students with IEPs who receive special education services also are much more highly concentrated in our comprehensive high schools compared to our magnets. Thirdly, if you look at the middle column, students who are African American, there's also a difference there between students who attend our comprehensive high schools and our magnet students, not in line with sort of the district percentages as a whole. So what is the story there? The story there is that that we've sort of created a system in which the concentration of need is quite great in our comprehensives and much less great in our magnets. And so part of the high school strategy must be, how do we more effectively meet the needs of our comprehensive high schools and do more to, if you will, lessen the concentration of need so that we can better fulfill and meet the needs of those students and their families. The next challenge is one of low performance and low growth. The chart that you see here shows graduation data for the last year where we have official sort of approved data, which is 2 school years ago, the class of 2011, where roughly 56% of our students, so just barely more than 1 out of 2, achieved on-time graduation in 4 years. Of that group, 31.4% were less than 1 in 3 successfully graduated from high school while also passing the HESPA assessments. That paints the picture of literally more than 2 out of 3 of our students not successfully graduating from high school and not having met this very modest bar in terms of a testing requirement. Clearly, that's a level of outcome that we must keep us awake at night and we must sort of urgently address. So that's the story of low performance and growth. Fifth is the notion of we're not currently meeting student needs and family needs to the degree that we need to. The 2 bar graphs that you see here represent an initiative that was introduced last year, which was the opening of the magnet school application process through one uniform application and test to all 8th graders across the city last year. When given that opportunity, families took great advantage of that opportunity, to the tune of 78% of families filling out an application and being part of that magnet application process. So that tells the story that when given the option and the ease of a process that allows for choice, students and families are gonna grab that opportunity and run with it. The right-hand bar shows the outcome in terms of the number of magnet seats that we actually have available and that we can fill with our students, which is only 27%. So just looking at the difference in size between those two bars, it tells us the story that there's clearly community demand for great schools, but right now the number of seats that sort of are meeting that demand is not where we want it to be. So that becomes the fifth challenge of our high school strategy.
So moving forward, I want to say one thing before I dive into the vision. We do see some schools on the move, and I want to point out there are some schools that are not only moving all children, but moving students who are coming in further behind and really helping them catch up. So we are seeing some progress, and that's exciting. We want to make sure that we accelerate that progress and do right by our kids. So the first part of our vision is college readiness for all students. We are perfectly happy and thrilled if our students want to choose to go to a career, but we know that careers demand just from our young people in terms of reading, writing, and speaking at high levels as college does nowadays. So we want this for all of our children. We want to make sure that there's racial and socioeconomic diversity across our high schools so that all of our high schools reflect the rich diversity of Newark. And we want to make sure that every family feels they have a true choice to pick a program or a school where they are known, where adults know them, and where there's a high level of personalization. When you talk to any family member, they tell you they want safety and they want their young person to be known by an adult and known well. And we know that our best educators are very effective at doing that. So the menu of things that we are pursuing for fall 2013, the first is to implement a citywide choice for all 8th graders, and we'll talk more about that, but we hope to work with this board and all of our stakeholders to get the word out about citywide choice and the ability to select high schools from a menu of options. The certain schools, Central, East Side, Newark Vocational, Shabazz, and Weequahic, will have internal redesign teams that will be focused primarily around 3 sort of important goals. A theme or a focus or a draw so that young people want to go there. Additional personalization and social emotional supports. There's lots we can do to make sure young people are attached to a caring adult. And a plan to support students who are struggling academically. The 2 schools where we'll have the deepest level of intervention and planning will be Behringer and Westside. I think we've had some excellent leadership shown by many individuals at those 2 schools. I also think that if we do a lot of things together to put the ingredients for success more quickly in place, that we will have an opportunity to create a better scenario at both of those locations. So Behringer, we're looking to create more than 1 school. We're in the process of looking at plans to see how many schools would fit in there, which we will share, and we will invite folks to look at those, as well as how many students will actually be present at Behringer. It's a school that has been almost cut in half in terms of enrollment in the last 5 years. And West Side, we will go through a deep planning process to ensure that the West Side school and the West Side community has what they need to accelerate achievement. There are a lot of opportunities for involvement and input, and we very much not only welcome it, but need it, because we understand that in every scenario it takes a village, but particularly in high school reform. We must do it in partnership with the community, with stakeholders, with educators. So there is a lot of opportunities to get involved, and to describe what some of those are, I'm gonna turn the microphone over to Robert Clark.
So as the superintendent, well, good evening, everyone. As the superintendent has outlined, the deepest renew or change is going to happen at the Behringer community and the West Side community. All high schools will have stakeholder teams, and many of the high schools that have presented their initial designs to the superintendent's offices have already formulated internal teams and have put forth plans to begin to build out larger community stakeholder teams. In particular at West Side and Behringer, we're going to be working really closely with the Family and Community Engagement Office to really put together really solid teams that look at who are the community-based organizations that are really partnering with those schools, have strong, deep roots with the school, who are the lead educators that want to be a part of this, the families, the students, and in the next couple of weeks we're going to be working with Assistant Superintendent Haggerty, the leadership at the schools, as well as Ms. Morris's office, to begin building out the blueprints so that we can have real substantive conversations with stakeholders and, most importantly, families about what those schools should look like. Next, we're going to move to, let's move to. So moving forward, there are going to be different ways to get involved. I think what we're going to do is, in March, we're going to announce, as we've started to do, exactly what the plans are going to be for the schools. Some of the schools that are on the move have submitted plans, and they've gotten support from the assistant superintendent about moving forward with those plans. So in those respective school communities, there will be plans that are going to be laid out soon for input on how to join those community stakeholder teams. So in March, the planning teams will be formed for schools, and the applications will be distributed for school choice. The school choice process is going to happen between March and May. May will have student placement letters distributed to parents, and between June and through August, there'll be ongoing enrollment and trying to make sure that families are getting the choices that they desire, as well as a large sort of marketing campaign to ensure that the comprehensive high schools who have had an opportunity to redesign are actually able to market themselves to families, and that families understand what changes are going to exist in those schools. And I will tell you, as someone who has read the applications, there are some dynamic proposals and some really, really innovative things that people are trying to propose. So please give the schools a shot and the leaders who are in place, because they've done a tremendous job.
Can I touch on the high school? Just to walk you through that timeline up there very briefly, because this is a new process on high school admissions, and we have such a large audience, I want to make sure we take advantage of that opportunity. The newness, as the superintendent mentioned up front, opening up the high school choice process to literally every 8th grader this year, further expanding our work done last year with the magnets. Want to call out first that the application period officially opens this Friday. And so what will be arriving at all of our schools that serve 8th grade students will be paper applications, as well as a high school application process guide that will be available to every student and his or her family to walk them through the process. The process will then be open for 3 weeks, with one huge event in between and many other smaller events in between. That huge event being the citywide high school fair on Saturday, March the 9th, to take place at Central High School. In addition to that, individual high schools will be hosting information sessions, orientations, tours, etc., based on, again, sort of individual interest of families to attend those events. The application deadline is the Friday before spring break, Friday, March 22nd, and here's the goal. The goal is literally that 100%, to the student, 100%, every one of our 8th grade students and their families successfully submits an application by that date, taking advantage of this opportunity to express choice. Then what will happen is over the month of April, the magnet schools will do their traditional ranking of students, and the matching process will take place toward a goal of being able to finalize all matches by Friday, April 26th, and mail and or backpack letters home to families, such that by Wednesday, May 1st, every 8th grade student and his or her family will know their match in high school for the coming fall. So we're very excited about this process. The next month is going to be heavy, so if you haven't heard about some of the exciting things that our high schools are doing, particularly our redesigned comprehensive high schools, get out there, learn about it. There's a lot of things to be really excited about across the high schools in NPS.
So before, I'm going to turn the microphone to Assistant Superintendent Roger Leone on a couple of K-8 things. I just want to end the high school section by making a very personal plea to all of the K-8 principals, high school principals, other administrators, teachers, family members that are present. When students feel they have chosen a school where they feel like they fit, and it actually speaks to their needs, their hopes, their dreams, their love, they are way more likely to stay, they're way more likely to excel, and if they don't stay, we know their life options are not nearly as extensive as they deserve. So I just ask that we all think about our own children, our own nieces and nephews, and everything we want for them. We want the same thing for every single kid in Newark. Our goal through this process is to make major strides towards that effort in all of our schools, and to do a ton of outreach through everyone in this room to make sure all the 8th grade families feel that they have true choices regardless of where they live, regardless of whether or not it's a student that's identified as having a disability, regardless if it's a student who's identified as having an English language learner need, regardless of whether or not they've struggled. Our firm belief and our firm commitment is to every single child, and we want this process to reach 100% of our 8th grade students. So we look forward to working with everyone in this room and to collaborating through the process of redesigning the schools, through the choice process, and we do believe that we will only succeed as a community if we work together on this. So we look forward to working with you. And with that, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Assistant Superintendent Roger Leone on some information on K-8s.
Madam Superintendent, Madam President, to the members of the advisory board and to all in attendance, this is intended to serve as a recap. So the focus of the reform effort is at the secondary level. Berliner and Roseville Avenue School are the only 2 elementary schools under consideration for closing. There were 3 core principles that were at the center of that decision: excellence, enrollment, and efficiency. Under excellence, the district looked at 3-year trends on academic performance on the standardized tests and related support services to students at Berliner towards ensuring the same. As it relates to enrollment, the district looked at declines in enrollment as a factor here. Over the past 3 years, those declining enrollment trends it indicated that obviously the number of students that were attending the school had significantly declined. And efficiency, while this core principle only applies to Roseville Avenue School, it did not apply at all to the Berliner facility, where the age of Roseville Avenue School is 128 years old. The deficiency cost is $1.3 million, and the building condition had been identified as poor. Let me take this opportunity to repeat that the only 2 elementary schools under consideration for closing at the end of this academic school year in June are Berliner and Roseville, with a final decision to be announced in mid-March. Assistant Superintendent Hardrick and I have actually hosted family forums at both locations. I was actually very proud of the families of students who attend Roseville Avenue School, and that session we had to actually host it at Dr. E. Alma Flagg because of the expected and anticipated incredible turnout. I would be remiss if I didn't add that a number of parents, and one student in particular, raised a number of concerns. We are hosting follow-up family meetings by grade level. They are actually being hosted at the school to address concerns, to highlight concerns, to provide answers to questions to parents, and to begin a smooth transition toward their enrollment in the school of their parents' choice for the next academic year. Thank you.
Madam Chair, that concludes our presentation, and we would return to the agenda and ask that everyone return to their seats. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I think someone borrowed it.
good?
I hope we ended up with the right number of chairs now. Okay.
Oh, yeah, sweet. I might forget, but
Board members, we're going to, because there are a lot of questions, we're going to hold all of the questions until old and new business. This is the usual way that, that we do it, and that's what we will do this evening. At this point, we will have the report of the student representative.
Thank you. Thank you. On Wednesday, January 20th, 2013, the Student Leadership Group meeting, we had a discussion on the new high school application. Student leaders felt with confidence that the high school application was a step forward in providing middle schoolers an easier way of applying to the local high schoolers. The Student Leadership Group leaders had volunteered to help at the high school fair on March 9th at Central High School. We also performed user acceptance testing. We also performed user acceptance testing on the new Newark Public Schools website. Also today, I had the opportunity to visit Rutgers Newark today at the 10th Annual Job Shadow. My experience was very positive, and I learned a lot of things about Rutgers Newark, and I was very impressed. Hopefully, this partnership with Newark Public School and Rutgers Newark will continue. And on our next meeting, we will have a representative brief us on the high school fair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Plaza. We will now move to item 9, which is voting items. I'm sorry. Did anyone have any questions for Mr. Plaza before we move on?
Madam Chair, are we asking
Yes,
questions
Mr. Kennedy.
for the student, or are we asking questions regarding the superintendent's deck? That
No,
was...
these are questions regarding the student representative report. I had just said earlier that we would, in old and new business, that we would ask all of our questions and anything else that we had to say at that time. Okay, moving now to item 9, which is voting items. First, academic services, resolution for approval of in-state, out-of-state field trips. Is there a motion? Motion? Mr. Lamort? Second?
Second.
Ms. Moran?
This motion to approve the academic services item, resolution for approval of in-state, out-of-state field trips, moved by Lamore, second by Pinto Marin. Mr. Jeffries? Not present. Mr. Kenny?
Yes.
Dr. Lamore?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Mattias?
Yes.
Dr. McCreary?
Yes.
Ms. Perello?
Yes.
Ms. Pinto Marin?
Yes.
Chair Baskel-Richardson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, we have a group of items 1 through 26. Is there a motion to vote on these items?
Madam Chair.
May I finish? Okay, I just want to finish stating the motion. What I was asking for, if there was a motion to take these as a group. Is that what you wanted to speak to?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Lewis?
Madam Chair, I know that we have a number of items on the agenda containing to staff development. I know that it's just fixing the language, but I want to if we could pull all of the staff development items out so we can vote on them separately.
Okay, so could you please tell me exactly which items you want separate?
P6 through P9. I just, reason why, I'm just gonna say my reason. My reason is with these proposed cuts that the district have laid before us, laying off staff members or laying off, cutting positions that affect the professional development. I will not be voting on them to protest all these cuts. That's going to affect our children and our academics and our school system.
Mr. Lewis, basically, are you making, what we need you to do then is to make a motion to separate those items?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Kenny?
I understand the motion to be voting on items 1 through 16 and 21 through 26 as a block. Is that correct?
Okay. Discussion, I know you did already make your comment. I just wanted to say for clarification, I'm sure that, the board members know this, but just for clarification, that the particular items are items that we did already vote on and approve, and that the voting now is simply just a modification of the language of what we already approved.
Clear.
All right, so Is there a motion on the floor then to vote on items 1 through 16, or to take 1 through 16 and 21 to 26 as a package?
Motion.
Who was it? Who called it?
I'm
Matthias?
sorry, who made the motion?
Ms. Matthias.
Ms. Matthias?
Second.
Second. Ms. Perillo?
Okay, this is a motion to take items 1 through 16 and 21 through 26 as a package, moved by Ms. Matthias, second by Ms. Perello. All in favor? Any opposed or abstained?
Abstain.
Okay. Taking these items as a package.
This is for the items that we're taking as a package. We're going to now vote on those
Yeah,
items.
right.
Okay, so we are now going to vote on the items that we did agree to take as a package, and those are items 1 through,
1 through 16, 21 through 26.
okay, 1 through 16 and 21 through 26.
All right, so this is a motion to, is there a motion on the floor then to vote on items 1 through 16 and 21 through 26?
Okay, is this the actual vote?
Yeah.
Okay,
This
so
is the actual vote, board
that
members.
we're doing now.
Okay, this is moved by Ms. Matthias,
Second.
second by Mr. Lewis. This is, again, this is a motion to vote on items 1 through 16, 21 through 26. We're shelving 17 through 20. Voting on the items, Mr. Jeffries, Mr. Kenny,
Yes.
Mr. Lamore, Dr. Lamore,
Abstain.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Ms. Matthias,
Yes.
Dr. McCreary,
Yes.
Ms. Perello,
Yes.
Ms. Pinto-Marin,
Yes.
Chair Baskel-Richardson.
Yes.
Motion carries. We have items 17 through 20 that are outstanding.
And there was already a motion made to, no, your motion was to just separate them, correct? To take those as a separate vote. So then we now need a motion to vote on those? Okay, is there any discussion, any further discussion before we take a motion to vote on those items? Is there anyone who has any questions or discussion on that?
Madam Chair, I understand.
Yes, Mr. Kenny.
I do understand that this is a revised a resolution where we change the language, but I do concur that with the number of restructuring that's going on in the district, I just don't feel comfortable at all voting on similar items going forward. So, well, in some referring to this particular items today. So, I just want to put that on the record that I do concur with my board colleague that with all the things that happen in the district, was to constantly put professional development, have carte blanche in terms of contracts and opportunities to provide that type of development, but yet we're undercutting people who professionally develop teachers in the district is not something I want to feel comfortable doing.
Excuse me, before we move to vote, I would like to know from the district, I guess from Ms. Wilson, what if any consequences are involved in these particular issues not being passed today.
Thank you, Board Chair. Good evening. Let me indicate that items 17 through 20, P6 through P9 are revised PQS items, pre-qualification services. The board will note correctly that they voted on these probably back in August to award contracts to several vendors. Those contracts have been awarded. The language in the current resolutions before the board for consideration will revise the award term, and that is all. You will not be rescinding awards that have already been made and are in the process of being implemented in the district. This particular vote has to do specifically with the term and duration of the contract.
Madam SBA, I believe it's actually the length of the contract, right? Not any other term? It's the length of the contract, correct?
It is the length of the contract, not to extend the contract.
No other terms but the length, correct?
If I may also just to clarify, things like science resource kits to be replaced and specific curricular pieces that principals are able to pay for within their existing budgets this year. those are the types of things that will be impacted.
Okay, so
Madam Chair.
may I just ask my question,
Okay.
then you may go next? Because I clearly understood the answers that were given, but I'm not sure if the intent of my question has been satisfied. So my question is, more specifically, if these things do not pass today, does that have an impact, a direct impact on students? That's what I want to know.
Madam Chair, good evening, everyone. Legally, a vote not taken today does not legally impact the awards. As our SBA, Ms. Wilson, indicated, the awards have been given pursuant to law. If, in fact, we do not extend them, which I understand to be the revised language here, the rewards still stand. There is no ethical or legal provision to prevent or for the district to rescind any awards that have been entered into in good faith.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you know, I hear the district and what the district is proposing here today. But our stance here today is to tell the district that we're not just going to sit back and allow you to cut services that affect our children. These services, you know, I don't understand, you know, how we say we're going to cut directors, supervisors, and department chairs. And these are people who order the supplies for science and social studies, evaluate teachers. You're cutting school budgets by $1.4 million, but you're saying that they could replace these individuals with a new title. I just believe that there's games. There's games being played, and I'm not one for games.
Mr. Lewis, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but at this time, do you have a particular question on that? Because if not, there is a readiness to vote. If you have a readiness to vote, because there will be.
I'm ready to vote because no matter what they say, my vote stands.
Because Mr. Lewis, there will be ample time for all board members to make comments this evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Ms. Matthias.
Well, I just want to clarify some things because I certainly understand Mr. Lewis and Mr. Kenny's sentiment, and I agree with it. These resolutions, which we have previously passed, the services are directly contracted by the schools themselves. It's not a it doesn't come through central office, yes?
That is correct, Ms. Matthias.
So the principals in the building choose which professional development partners they want to work to, which strategic school designs they want to take up. This is all school-based.
Yes, it is. This particular process was designed to streamline the provision of services to schools and to do a coordinated effort in terms of vendor selection to ensure that there were standards of quality that were being adhered to and would allow schools to have the ability to very quickly and efficiently select the appropriate vendors or services they wish to provide.
And if the school does not choose to engage in any of these partners, does the district force them to?
There is no such forcing. What will happen is the individual school or principal who has made that decision will then have to enter into a procurement process in order to acquire another vendor. So in other words, they may have to go through an RFP process if the amount of money to be spent exceeds the bid threshold.
Okay, thank you.
Can we get specific information when we're saying that the length of the contract is changed? Or do we have the specifics on that? Is it the same for each of these? Because I'm still really trying to assess impact.
Yes, it is the same for each of these. And in fact, what we had, give me 2 minutes. So if we look at P6, which I think is item 17, item 17, thank you. If you look at the text of that resolution, the resolution reads, whereas The contract term was for the 12-13 fiscal year with an option to renew for 4 successive one-year periods. And whereas the resolution and all amendments are revised to the term of 1-year period with an option to renew for 2 successive 2-year periods. So instead of 4 one-year awards, it is now a single year with 2 2-year periods. Okay?
That revision, I might add, that revision was made to comply with Law 18A, 18A 42, multi-year contracts, so we're compliant with law and auditing requirements.
Okay, so based on that, if this does not pass today, are we in violation of a regulation? Is that what I'm hearing?
It's not consistent with law. It's going to have to be revisited at a later time.
Thank you very much.
Ready? Vote.
The readiness? Okay.
All right, so Madam Chair, we separated out 17 through 20. If the board wants to take that as a package, we would need a vote to vote on items 17 through 20 as a package.
Okay, we had a motion on that.
Vote as a package? I don't know
Yeah,
if
we
did.
took a,
I don't believe
yes,
so. I think
we
we took a vote to separate out, just to separate it out. I think we
okay,
need a
so
vote,
that's
yeah.
different. Okay, so then we need a motion to vote on items, what is it?
17
17
through 20.
through 20. Okay, Mr. Lewis, second. Ms. Perillo?
Okay, this is a motion to vote on items 17 through 20, just to take those items as a package, 17 through 20. All in favor? Okay, any
Aye.
opposed or abstain? Okay, we're going to take the items as a package.
We will now move to,
We have to vote on the items.
I'm sorry?
We have to vote on the items. We're going to vote on the items now. That was to take the items as a
Oh,
package,
I'm
yes.
sorry, I'm moving right along. Okay. So we need a motion then.
Motion to vote on items 17 through 20.
Motion.
Ms. Mathias and Mr. Kenny?
Second.
Okay, this is a motion to actually vote on finance items 17 through 20, moved by Ms. Mathias, second by Mr. Kenny. Mr. Jeffries, Mr. Kenny,
No.
Dr. Lamore,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
No.
Ms. Mathias,
Yes.
Dr. McCreary,
Abstain.
Ms. Perello, Ms. Pinto-Marin,
Yes.
Chair Baskel-Richardson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can you read the vote total again, please?
Yeah, it was 4 in favor, 2 no, 2 abstain.
So, since, wouldn't that be a tie?
No. 4 in favor, 2 no, 2 abstain.
What do an abstention?
Abstentions or abstentions?
What's an abstention, a yes or a no?
Abstention is not a no, people. Abstentions.
Excuse me, may we
abstention-
have order, please? Thank you.
4-2-2. Abstention is not a no.
Are there any questions on the vote? At this time, we will consider the General Counsel Legal Services policy advertisements on school buses. Is there a motion, or are there any questions on this before we vote? Any further questions? We have discussed this in the past, I believe, but are there any other questions? Okay, just for the clarity of those who are here today, this particular policy advertisements on school buses does not mean that there will be advertisements on our school buses. It just means that there possibly could be, and the details of the policy are written to ensure that any advertisements that went on school buses, that both the superintendent and the advisory board would actually see them before approving any particular advertisement. So this is just an outlook for possible future revenue for the district, and it just allows us at a future time to be able to do that. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Ms.
Second.
Mathias?
Second.
Se-
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, 2 seconds. Okay, Ms. Perillo, second, and Ms. Pinto, third.
I'm sorry. Okay.
This is a motion to vote on the policy advertisements on school buses, moved by Ms. Matias, second by Ms. Perello. Mr. Jeffries, Mr. Kenny,
Yes.
Dr. Lamore,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Abstain.
You don't want that revenue from the school buses. Ms. Matias,
Yes.
Dr. McCreary,
Yes.
Ms. Perello,
Yes.
Ms. Pinto Marin,
Yes.
Chair Baskel Richardson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Madam Chair? Madam Chair?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Plaza.
I was wondering, I'd like to ask a question about the superintendent's presentation.
We're going to do that in old and new business, which will follow the public participation.
Madam Chair, I'm not sure if you're able to stay late because I know you have to go to school tomorrow. Is it possible you can
Yeah.
ask questions?
I'm sorry, Mr. Plaza. Mr. Plaza, I do apologize, but we really are not going to change the order of business for this evening. And, just for future reference, Mr. Plaza, we can discuss kind of offline, how to make things happen, prior to the meeting. But, I do appreciate your request, but we are not going to change the order of business for this evening.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you.
And just that you also always know where to find me. I'm also happy to come talk to the group that you lead as well.
We will now move to the public participation section of our meeting.
This is the public participation section of the meeting. Time limits for all speakers are adhered to. There is no sharing or granting of speaking time to others. Speakers must be present when their name is called. All speakers are required to give names and addresses. The public participation portion of the meeting is limited to 1 hour and 30 minutes. Examples of unacceptable behavior that are not permitted include, but are not limited to, naming district employees and engaging in personal attacks, slurs, excessive loudness, calling out, yelling, generally disruptive behavior, attempting to disrupt the meeting, or inciting others to do so. Public participation at board meetings is intended to allow individual members of the public the opportunity to address the board and administration on issues of public concern, not as a forum for two-way dialogue with the board members. The superintendent or designee or chair may respond to questions either at the end of the public participation session, or responses may be provided at a later time. The superintendent, designee, or chair may interrupt any speaker or terminate individual's speaking privilege if the speaker's comments are disruptive or obscene. An individual may be cautioned that a personally directed statement may be slanderous or defaming, and that the individual may be liable for his or her comments. Attempts to hijack or filibuster the proceeding, repeated interrupting or badgering the board chair or district officials, repetitive or truculent speech, or disregard of the rules of decorum are not tolerated and may subject the individual or group to removal from the building. And if necessary, the meeting may be adjourned.
Thank you. Since we have a number of speakers here this evening,
Madam Chair?
Yes, I'm sorry, go right ahead.
May I also add to that our protocol for board meetings, as the General Counsel has indicated, require the proper decorum. If there is disruptions during speaking or during presentations, the person who is yelling out in the audience will receive 2 verbal warnings. After the second verbal warning, the next instance will and may result in removal from the auditorium.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. For those, since we have a number of people, I see new faces this evening, some of whom may be on the public speakers list. Just for clarity, please state your name and address as for the record. And then we need for everyone to just be clear. You have 2 minutes, and then there will be a bell, which is basically a warning that you have 1 additional minute. So you have a total of 3 minutes. So please try to regulate your comments to stay within that 3-minute period, as we have a large number of speakers who are signed up this evening, and then we have other business to take care of after the public speaking. So out of regard and respect for everyone who is here, we must insist that we keep to the time limits. The first speaker for this evening is Jordan Roper. Is Mr. Roper here? Cheyenne Holmes. Jamira Armstrong. Imani Lynn. Quamara Flogger. Alyssa Jones. Alani Jones. Kamani Teal. Tiana Torres. Alexis Matheson. Karen Pierre. Colleen Pierre. Shania Lowe. Saida Williams. Okay, this is the students who were signed up to speak. And we will now move into our adult speakers. First adult speaker this evening, Tina Taylor.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Tina Taylor, and I am president of the City Association of Supervisors and Administrators, better known as CASA. Since this is my first time before this board, I would like to tell you a little bit about my background. I was born in Newark, attended Ann Street School, Eastside High School, and Rutgers Newark. Upon graduation, I began my career as a math teacher in Newark. Subsequently, I was a guidance counselor, department chairperson, and vice principal at Eastside. I became the principal of Science High School and served for 18 years. I am not here just as a union official, but as an individual committed to the success of the Newark Public Schools. This is my school district, as it is for everyone here. I am here tonight to address the superintendent's insane intention to eliminate the instructional positions of directors, supervisors, and department chairs, or DCs, and implore that it not be implemented. Science Park High School, under my leadership, became the first secondary school in Newark to earn a National Blue Ribbon awarded by the U.S. Department of Education. I would love to stand here and say it was because of me, but I can't. It was a team effort. However, the DCs played a vital and integral role in earning this honor. They assisted in writing the proposal, gathering the statistics required, interpreting the data, and more importantly, they were instrumental in providing the teaching staff with the tools needed to enhance and enrich student achievement so that we received this award. In order to have a successful school, everyone knows it requires outstanding leadership and excellent teachers. Who is responsible for the day-to-day improvement and training of teachers? In the high schools, it is the DCs who have the primary role in providing mentorship to and oversight of teachers. In the elementary schools, it is the supervisors that supply critical teaching support. The elimination of these positions will have immediate and long-range devastating effects on student achievement. The removal of directors will result It will disrupt the implementation of the state-required Common Core standards. The federal STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics initiative will be compromised. The after-school program, which offers not only academic enrichment, but provides socialization and, above all, provides a secure and safe environment for our students, will be jeopardized. What will happen to youth development programs and summer teen employment? What will happen if we have no school athletic directors who are required by NJSIA to be in existence in order for our teams to compete? College opportunities and scholarships for athletes will be greatly diminished. Early childhood and special needs students will suffer greatly if there are no directors and supervisors to monitor the programs. Career and college readiness programs would become extinct without these positions. We understand that the superintendent recently received a bonus of $41,000. If this is the case, we would like to know what criteria were used to determine the reward. If it was for increased student achievement, then the school leaders and central office instructional staff deserve the bulk of the credit. If it was for fiscal efficiency, they then again deserve credit since they were forced to do more with less. However, perhaps the superintendent was rewarded for employing more New York consultants than properly certified full-time staff. For this, she deserves all the credit. If it was a feeble attempt at union busting, again, the credit is all hers. And if it was for dismantling and destroying the Newark public school system to the detriment of our students, she was grossly underpaid. Having learned of this only last Friday, I ask you, is not the elimination of over 125 instructional positions and the devastating effect that would have on our students an item worthy of discussion? This totally regards and shows utter disrespect for CASA's members and their professionalism. I understand the advisory board, like CASA, received the information the same way. So you, perhaps, the elected representatives of Newark citizens, are equally disrespected. For the sake of the children of Newark and their future, I urge that there be no implementation of the superintendent's stated intention. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Cheryl Skeet, who is speaking for the Newark Teachers Union this evening. Is Ms. Skeet here in the room? Next speaker, Vanessa Roper. Next speaker, Harrison Hogue.
Good afternoon. Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum. Before I begin, I would like to ask Ms. Anderson, do you have an open door policy whereas I don't have to use this as a forum to express a complaint I have, I could meet with your aide somewhere personally before stuff is construed differently?
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding what
I was asking the question to Superintendent, Madam Superintendent, whether she has an open door policy where I can discuss these complaints with her in a private time instead of discussing a public forum like this.
Yeah, you know, okay. If it is something Okay, yes, you do have other options than to discuss anything in the public forum. Ms. Merritt, if you could please raise your hand. Ms. Merritt is sitting right here. If you want to address your concern to her, then you can do that, and she will take that concern to the proper person. Is that satisfactory to what you're asking?
And I'm asking Miss because the issues I have to discuss is serious allegations, and I would like to hear from the supervisor regarding it's an open door policy. If it is, then I could wait and I have to, because basically the complaint that was made before, we had a
Mr. Hoke, if I can just interrupt, Madam Chair, if I may. Mr. Hoke, I've noticed in terms of the subject matter which you've listed, they do have a legality to them. Yes. I am the General Counsel and Chief of Staff. I'd be more than happy to make sure that through Ms. Merritt, you have my contact number to personally come and speak with me. I'd be more than happy to talk about this behind closed doors to the degree that there's any indication that we need to take action. I'll ensure that we do so.
Okay, I understand. All right, I'm gonna go forward with part of it, not the part about. I'm just go forward.
Okay, so
I want to agree to meet with.
Yes. No, we just need you to state your name and address for the record, and then can we start his time now, not when he first started? Okay.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank Ms. Matias and whoever in the advisory board that swift action regarding that. We were talking about the inequities in facilities.
Excuse me, could you state, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We just need you to state your name and address for the record.
Harrison Hope, 34 Zaston Avenue, Newark, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Okay, and also to Ms. Valerie Miller for providing me with the prompt copies of the documents I requested, meaning the AIP process, the conflict of interest policy, and also she wasn't able to obtain a Kronos policy. Basically about the inequities, I'm gonna skip and get direct to the documentation that was provided to me by administration regarding the protocol for acting foreman within our department. First of all, we was given this document, and it shocks me, and I'm confused, in an educational institution that has no minimum education requirement for this position. No GED, no high school diploma. And I questioned that during this form of this document, and I was told that no degree is necessary, no high school diploma, no GED, you could just apply. I then requested to find out was any experience necessary, supervisory experience necessary. They said no, if you have supervisory experience, college degree, bachelor's, master's, it doesn't have any impact on it. The second of all, they said that during this process that they was doing some type of evaluations and reviewing the internal candidate and all the stuff that sounds good on paper. But in actuality, in the district and facilities, they do not evaluate building managers, they do not evaluate supervisors, they evaluate employees and tradesmen. I've been working in facilities for over 7 years. I never had an evaluation about attendance, tardiness, getting along with coworkers. I never had that needs to improve or nothing like that. So I'm confused, and I also can understand why management would be carried that way, because it seems like if they don't value education, then it's like incompetence. So they want to surround themselves with people that's not able to articulate and complain about the issue that's going on. And I would just ask Ms. Anderson that you investigate that and take in consideration that when you do that to people and you make it seem like people that have education are like smarties or think they know everybody, but it's like oppression, a form of oppression. And I don't like feeling that way. I like to feel like that I went to college and sacrificed. I grew up in Newark. I went to this school. I graduated from Arts High School in Newark, and I went on to college. And I'm also a district leader in my community. And I also think that hopefully I could settle this with the council, because this is, like I said, serious allegations about the other things. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Maureen Robinson.
Good evening. My name is Maureen Robinson.
Good evening.
I have 2 residencies, 428 Doyle Street, Elizabeth, and I've been confined to a dungeon in the basement of University High School, where there are no working toilet facilities for female teachers, no heat and no ventilation unless we keep the doors open. Over the past several years, I have been lamenting to this advisory board and the district about the prevalence of cronyism, racism, discrimination, favoritism, and nepotism in this, a predominantly black school district. A concerned parent who has a son attending the North Star Charter School Academy informed me that there are no African American teachers in that school. I was also informed that the white principal of East Side High School got rid of all of his tenured African American administrators and a number of tenured teachers and people of color. Although New Jersey is the most racist state in the union, the blatant, overt, and obvious ugliness and prevalence of racism and discrimination, whether by age, race, color, creed, religious affiliation, or gender, should not be an issue in the 21st century, especially in a predominantly black school district or anywhere else in this country that was built on the backs of slaves, black people who were forced from their African habitat centuries ago. Requests for investigations regarding those issues will be made. As a result of a teacher's visitation to West Side High School, the principal and vice principal covertly devised a scheme to target the teacher the next time she entered the building by directing security to contact VP Mr. P the next time she enters the building and use the code, "Your wife is in the building." People have a right to public access to buildings. On the lighter side, Advisory Board member Marquise Lewis is running for City Council in the West Ward. His campaign committee would appreciate your support, and I'd like to support the next mayor of Newark, Mr. Raz Baraka. He needs to stand and wave his hand somewhere. He's in the building, okay? This too shall pass. Change is on the way. Okay, and I will fight until I die for the teachers and students and employees of the Newark School District. I'm 72 years old, but don't let the old age fool you. I marched when Newark was on fire, so I'm not afraid. What you gonna do to me now? Kill me? Beat me? Huh? I've been a slave. It doesn't matter now. I'm gonna fight you until justice and peace comes for the teachers, the employees, and the students, equality for the students in the school district of Newark. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Before I call the next speaker, I would like to request that all speakers please contain your remarks to issues that are related to the Newark Public Schools, to the children of the Newark Public Schools, and to issues of education. We have a limited time that is allowed for public speaking, and I hope that we don't have to use that time up unnecessarily. The next speaker, Lucius Jones.
You need me? You good? Yeah, good. Lucius Jones, 107 Ivy Street, Newark, New Jersey.
Good evening.
Good evening. Madam Chair,
yes, sir.
through the board, you know, we have some major concerns that we have to deal with as a district. You know, sometimes I go home and I watch cable TV and I see the same old episode over and over again. And we've been seeing the same old episode played in the city of Newark over and over again. Governor McGreevey said something. He said, you can't continue to do the same thing and expect different results. And it's time for the people that work in the schools, that live in the community, and the students to do something different to get recognition from this board, not necessarily from this administration and this governor. because we continue to do the same thing. Some of us happened to get inside this time, and some of us last time was locked outside. But we do the same thing while we watched within this house people come up from the charter school and leave organized at exactly 8 o'clock, enough time to make it home before to eat dinner. What I come to speak to you before tonight, I'm going to get straight to the point. One is the children at Ivy Hill, which she called on the list, did not make it tonight because I said to them they're a little upset with me, and I'll explain that later. But the point is this. I have a niece that attends Ivy Hill School. She's in the 5th grade. She cries every single day because she only knows her 2 timetables. Every single day. No intervention, no resources. She got an F on her report card first cycle and an F on her report card second cycle. We're a focus school. But what are we focusing on? What are we focusing on? When we talk about a kid that my assistant got called from a meeting with me and went to Westside High School. Kid sitting down, refused to participate with the games, sits down to eat his food, and gets kicked in the ribs. Principal walks right by the parent and refused to talk to her. This is the foolishness that we have to deal with. It's a priority school. We understand why it's a priority school. People in this district need to understand that the district has set aside, has distinguished the class of schools based on reward schools, focus schools, and priority schools. But what does that really mean for kids? That's the bottom line. After all of this experimenting is going on, what does it mean for kids? Our kids are shooting each other, killing each other. They're dying in the streets while we experiment. The real deal here is for the state to push back on the budget. They don't want $1 billion budget, right, Cammie? They don't want $1 billion budget. Your whole purpose is that you have to roll back the budget. We're expecting approximately $100 million, a little less than $100 million deficit this year. When photos got up there and said to the state and everybody else, after telling white folks telling white folks, the district broke. She did all that work just to come up with the same scenario. We're broke. Give us more money. The deal comes down to very simple. Nobody's talking to nobody. Cammie, you may say you're having community meetings, but you know there's a difference between a meeting and an appointment. We get there, you call us at meetings to be at the appointment at 3 o'clock and you're gone by 5 after you talk for 1 hour and 45 minutes. That is wrong. How are we supposed to dialogue with you, my sister, if you do not allow us the opportunity to dialogue? There's some real glitches in this problem. Some real serious glitches that we must address. That's why people keep coming back here year after year, right around the budget time, because she noticed she dealt with the supervisors and all these cuts. The same time she has to deal with next month, we got to deal with the budget. And they're going to talk about, and nobody's going to be at the budget hearing, when they're going to talk about the real money. Where are we spending all of this money that's coming to this district? On contractors and consultants? I am sick and tired of coming up here talking about how we're going to educate kids. That's the bottom line, Ms. Anderson. We need to get serious about collaborating with all of the stakeholders. And I ask that you sit down and give us ample time to talk about your comprehensive plan instead of shoving it down our throats.
Thank you. Next speaker, Nickerson John Renaud.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Mr. Nickerson Jerenois, address 1028 Linden Street, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Alumni of University High School, South Street School, Oliver Street School, graduate, honorary graduate of William Patterson University of New Jersey. You know, I came here today, I said, I could speak about a litany of issues, but I seem to notice that there are many small issues that are overlooked in the Newark Public School District daily. And one of them is the issue of security personnel. At a time when school security is a national tumult, you know, with the Sandy Hook killings, I don't understand why I'm still walking into school buildings and I notice the indecency and the misconduct and the gross, you know, deportment of security guards. You know, way before I was born, in the year 1984, the state stepped in, and specifically the New Jersey State Commission of Investigation stepped in. And they said, the Newark Board of Education must do something about its disrespectful security guards. And it must give them formal training. It must remind them that they are guards, not police officers. That they are subject to legal statutes of not only guards in the Newark Public School District, but law enforcement officers. Yes, that's how serious their job is, but yet you require them just to have a high school diploma, a clean record, you know, and maybe a friend in the Newark Public School District, and come get your job and your uniform. Let me tell you, you better stop that nepotism, you better stop that unprofessionalism very now, because it's disrespectful. It's aggravating to walk in a school building and see a security guard chewing gum with their shirt out of their pants. And remind me, excuse me, boo. Huh? You're a boo. I turned to one, I told her, I said, excuse me, my name to you alone, even to the principal in this building, is Mr. Nickerson Jerenois. 3 syllables. And I'm going to say to you that I urge the body of this body to look over the state commissions, the New Jersey State Commission's of Investigations report of 1984, where they delineated very detailed recommendations for ensuring that our security personnel are not individuals who step outside of their bounds. Some of them think they're the principal. You know, as soon as you walk in the building, they say, excuse me, with their rude voices. And you know, I ignore some of them. One of them even told me, being very unaware of legal statutes again, Mr. Nickerson, why you're banned? I turned to her, I said, excuse me, as a taxpayer in the state of New Jersey, I can never be banned from a public facility. Furthermore, as a nation builder, your words have no standing to me. All you are to do is to remind me to sign in, show my identification as a Newark Public Schools employee, and have a great day, Mr. Nickerson Jerenois. So I'm saying to you, please, in the future, do take into consideration that there are security guards that exist all over this Newark Public School District who are not obeying protocol. Thank you very much.